Are you looking for the best CPU for gaming? In this video, we will break down the top CPUs for gaming on the market. At number 1, we have the Intel Core i9-9900KS desktop processor. This is a processor that contains 8 cores and 16 threads, making it a really powerful processor right out of the gate. This includes up to 5.0 GHz of all-core turbo unlocked. If high speed and high performance are what you need, this might be the one feature that you'll be excited about. If you plan on using this, it's important to note that it is highly compatible with an Intel Z390 chipset-based motherboard. This is hands down one of the best CPU processors and is reserved for the most hardcore gamers out there. Performance should always matter most when it comes to a gaming computer, and this Intel Core processor is perhaps one of the most powerful on the market. The more cores your CPU processor has, the better, and this processor is living proof of that. On top of that, Intel is known for making some really reliable processors for PCs, gaming, or otherwise. At number 2, we have the Intel Core i7-9700K desktop processor. This contains up to 8 cores with 8 threads. The turbo levels have the ability to reach up to 4.9 GHz, giving you a really good rate of speed whenever you're playing online. This will only work with motherboards that are part of the Intel 300 series chipsets. The CPU supports Intel Optane memory, a super fast memory module. This also includes Intel UHD 630 graphics, so you get cutting-edge graphics that will blow your mind. Keep in mind that this is just a processor, so it won't include any cooling units. Purchase cooling fans and units separately if you need them. Another thing worth mentioning is that most CPU processors will be unlocked right out of the box. This means that you'll be able to overclock the CPU if you so choose. That way you'll get a good amount of speed and input-output. At number 3, we have the AMD Ryzen Threadripper 3790X unlocked processor. This is a beast of a processor that contains a total of 32 cores and 64 threads. Not only is it perfect for gamers, but this is a high-powered processor for graphic designers and artists that are looking for a powerful unit to do all of their work. The turbo boost comes out to about 4.5 MHz, along with a cache of 144 MB, which is huge by most standards. This processor is unlocked right out of the box, which will make it easier to overclock if you choose to go down that route. It also contains a quad-channel DDR4 and a total of 88 PCIe 4.0 lanes. This is a good thing when you want something that will give you plenty of bandwidth and input-output. You'd be hard-pressed to find anything else that will give you that ability for your PC. This processor will support many operating systems, including 64-bit versions of Windows 10, RHEL, and Ubuntu. Whatever operating system you prefer, you can easily install it and get this in running operation. It's a powerhouse of a processor for anyone that wants to do a combination of work and play. Any way you slice it, you get plenty of power, performance, and speed all in one CPU. At number 4, we have the Intel Core i9-9980XE Extreme Edition processor. This processor has a total of 18 cores and 36 threads. At the start, it has 3 GHz of speed with the ability to go up as high as 4.40 GHz. You also get a pretty good amount of cache space with 24.75 MB. If you're looking for plenty of memory, you got it. That's because it has quad DDR4 2666 memory channels. Plus, it's Intel Optane memory supported. If you have an Intel X299 chipset motherboard, then you have a CPU that is compatible and ready to run. Aside from gaming, this is the perfect processor for those who are more productive than normal. If you have plenty of projects to work on and need the best support possible as far as speed and performance are concerned, this CPU just might take the cake, frosting and all. Other than that, it has solder thermal interface material. This will help maximize heat transfers from the processor to the cooling system itself. This means you can be able to push your CPU processor to the limit and not have to worry about the PC overheating. At number 5, we have the AMD Ryzen Threadripper 3960X 24-core 48-thread unlocked processor. If you're looking for a CPU that you can overclock right out of the gate, you can do just that. That's because it is another unlocked processor that will give you much flexibility. As mentioned, it has 24 cores and 48 threads. Once again, this isn't a CPU for gamers, but also for graphic designers and artists. Who says work and play can't mix? This has a max boost frequency of 4.5 MHz and a sizable cache of 140 MB. This also contains a quad-channel DDR4 and 88 total PCIe 4.0 lanes. Lastly, it includes a 280 TDP, which is useful when you want to install a cooling system. At number 6, we have the AMD Ryzen Threadripper 3990X 64-core 128-thread unlocked processor. The difference between this and the previous AMD CPU is the number of cores and threads. This one has 64 cores and 128 threads. The speed boost you'll get is 4.3 GHz along with a spacious cache of 188 MB. And yes, it is unlocked, so you'll be able to overclock the processor whenever you feel that it's necessary. With quad-channel DDR4 and 88 PCIe 4.0 lanes, you're going to get plenty of bandwidth and input-output. We dare say it might be the best you'll get when you stack it up against competing CPUs on the market. At number 7, we have the AMD Ryzen 9 3900X 12-core 24-thread unlocked desktop processor. If you're looking for what might be the world's most advanced CPU processor on the market for gamers, look no further. At 100 plus frames per second, it proves itself beyond a doubt that it can perform much faster than any processor you can think of. If speed is one thing you don't want to compromise on, or if you don't want to settle for less than the best, this processor will definitely be right up your alley. This contains 12 cores and 24 threads. It also contains AMD's Prism cooler with color-controlled LED support, making your gaming PC stand out a lot more aesthetically pleasing. This also includes 4.6 GHz of maximum speed boost. It's also unlocked for overclocking and contains 70 MB of cache for gaming. This CPU is for the advanced socket AM4 platform and can support PCIe 4.0 on X570 motherboards. If you want a pretty powerful CPU and prefer AMD to Intel, this might be exactly what you need for all your gaming needs. At number 8, we have the Intel Core i7 8700K desktop processor. This processor contains 6 cores and 12 threads for a solid overall performance. You get a turbo max frequency of 4.70 GHz along with a 12 MB cache. You must have an Intel 300 series chipset motherboard if you want this CPU to work properly. This supports Intel Optane memory and UHD graphics 630. It's a pretty solid Intel CPU if you're looking for something that is manageable for most PC builds. At number 9, we have the AMD Ryzen 7 3800X 8-core 16-thread unlocked desktop. This is another CPU processor that offers a ridiculous amount of speed. If you want 100 plus frames per second of speed at your disposal, this is the processor to go with. It's exceptional for all kinds of PC gaming, no matter what your level of expertise. Say goodbye to lagging and dragging forever when you have speed like this at your hands. This includes 8 cores and 16 threads, along with an AMD Wraith Prism cooler with color control LED support. You get a turbo boost of 4.5 GHz along with a 36 MB cache for games. It's unlocked, ready to be overclocked, and will perform at the highest level possible. This CPU is for serious gamers looking for maximum performance, especially if you are in esports leagues or a hardcore multiplayer. At number 10, we have the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X 8-core 16-thread unlocked desktop processor. This is similar to other AMD counterparts on our list. It is unlocked and can be overclocked for maximum performance. This has 8 cores and 16 threads along with an AMD Wraith Prism cooler with color-controlled LED support. Also included is 4.4 MHz of turbo speed along with 36 MB cache for gaming. This is a CPU that will be compatible with PCIe 4.0 on X570 motherboards. If you are looking for something that will give you power, speed, and reliability at a price that is reasonably affordable, then you might want to consider purchasing the CPU. So that sums up the top CPUs for gaming. We hope you enjoyed.